before it was a classic film, before it was a Broadway musical, and way before Robert De Niro ever picked up a director's chair. It was just one kid's real life, a kid from the Bronx, a witness to a murder, a son torn between two father figures, and that kid was Chazz Palminteri. This is the real story behind A Bronx Tale, the movie, the truth, the mob, and the man who lived it. In the 1960s, the Bronx was a neighborhood of contradictions. Family values and faith sat alongside crime, racism, and corruption. That contradiction is what made it magnetic and dangerous. Chazz Palminteri was born on May 15, 1952, in the Belmont section of the Bronx, right off 187th Street and Belmont Avenue, the real setting for what became A Bronx Tale. Just like in the movie, Calogero, whose name is Chazz's real birth name, Calogero Lorenzo Palminteri spent most of his days on the stoop, watching the neighborhood play out like a movie. There were working-class Italians struggling to get by, and then there were the gangsters, the guys who didn't punch clocks, guys who wore suits at 10 a.m., handed out money to kids, and always had respect, or fear. The turning point in A Bronx Tale happens early, when Calogero witnesses local mob boss Sonny shoot a man dead over a parking dispute. This wasn't just good writing, it was exactly what happened to Chazz. In real life, when Chazz was just 9 years old, he heard shouting outside his apartment building. He ran to the window and saw a man shot and killed, point blank, over a fight. The shooter was a feared wise guy in the neighborhood. When the police came knocking and lined up witnesses, young Chazz was the only one who had seen everything. They asked me, "Did you see anything?" And I said, "No." And that was it. I kept my mouth shut. That one decision earned him instant street respect. The mobster never forgot what Chazz did, and just like in the movie, he became a sort of neighborhood protector, inviting Chazz into his circle. So who was the real Santino Sonny Lo Specchio? Though Chazz never publicly revealed the real name of the man who inspired Sonny, he has said this: he was a true gangster, feared, respected, but also smart and kind in his own way. Sources close to Chazz and the Belmont Avenue section of the Bronx in the 60s have said on record that the real Sonny was Big John Ormento. Giovanni Big John Ormento was a capo of the Lucchese crime family in the 50s and 60s. Ormento was one of the biggest heroin traders in the U.S. at the time, heavily involved in the French Connection. Big John was born in 1912 in the East Harlem area of New York City, which at that time was known as Italian Harlem. Standing 5 feet 10 and weighing over 250 pounds, he was a big guy who always got his way. Fear was more important than respect to Big John, similar to Sonny's character in the movie. Big John's crew, known as the 107th Street Crew, had control of East Harlem and the Fordham section of the Bronx, which includes the neighborhood Chazz grew up in, Belmont Avenue. Big John was arrested 3 times for narcotics violations. The third narcotics conviction came in 1971, in which he was hit with a 40-year sentence. He died in prison 3 years later in 1974, at the age of 63, due to natural causes. Chazz Palminteri has never denied or confirmed the rumors of Sonny's character being based on Big John Ormento. That's a question only Chazz has the answer to. Just like in the film, Sonny took Chazz under his wing. He gave him small jobs like running errands and handing out betting slips, nothing illegal, just daily neighborhood stuff. Sonny was more than just muscle. He was charming, philosophical, and had a code. He mentored Chazz, gave him street smarts, and more importantly, taught him how the real world worked. But while Sonny was a figure of power, Chazz's real father was the opposite: quiet, hard-working, and honest. Lorenzo Calogero's father in the film is played by Robert De Niro. And yes, Lorenzo was a real man. Chazz's real father was a bus driver for the New York City Transit Authority. Every day, he got up early, wore a uniform, and provided for his family. When Lorenzo finds out Sonny is giving his son money and attention, he confronts him. In real life, the tension between Chazz's father and his mob mentor was very real. His father hated the influence of the gangsters and feared Chazz would get pulled into that life. Chazz has said, "My father was the greatest man I ever knew. He didn't have money, he had character." The phrase, "the saddest thing in life is wasted talent." It wasn't a line from a script, it was something Chazz's father told him every day growing up. In the film, Calogero falls in love with Jane, a black girl from the neighborhood, sparking tension with his racist Italian friends. This part of the movie was Robert De Niro's idea. He actually dated a black girl in high school and felt it would fit great in the script. While the Jane storyline is partly fictionalized, the infamous door test to see if a girl is genuine, that was 100% real. Chazz still swears by it to this day. Although the scene with Slick and Mario getting burned in the car never really happened, the racial ethnic tension in the Bronx did. Chazz really did have friends like Slick and Crazy Mario. He saw fights. He witnessed the racism, the tension between the Italians and African Americans in the Bronx during the 60s. It was real and raw. Chazz included this plotline to show how prejudice starts young and how hard it is to break those cycles. In the movie, Sonny is gunned down by the brother of the man he killed in the opening scene. This also did not happen. In real life, Big John, the man who inspired Sonny, didn't die that way, but he did eventually pass away in prison. Chazz wrote Sonny's death as a way to show that the gangster life is a dead-end street. Even the most loved guys, the good gangsters, never escape the cycle. One of the most unforgettable characters in A Bronx Tale was Eddie Mush, the superstitious bad-luck gambler that Sonny couldn't stand having around during big bets. And yes, Eddie Mush was a real person. In fact, the actor that portrayed Eddie Mush was actually Eddie Mush Montanaro himself. The filmmakers couldn't find an actor to play him, so they sought out the actual Eddie Mush from the neighborhood. He was found near the bookmakers, just as they were told by Chazz Palminteri. Robert De Niro personally asked him to play the role after meeting him, and just like that, Eddie Mush became a legend in mob movie history. As Chazz got older, he stepped away from the street life, choosing instead to chase his dream, acting. After high school, Chazz pursued his acting, grinding away in off-Broadway plays, bartending, and even working as a bouncer at nightclubs. He had the look, the intensity, the voice, but no one gave him a chance. Casting agents told him he was too Italian, too ethnic, too New York. Years passed, roles were small, money was tight, he was broke, nearly evicted, and frustrated. Then he had an idea. If they won't give me a role, I'll write one. He sat down and began writing what he knew better than anyone else, his own life. Chazz wrote the first version of A Bronx Tale in 1988. It was a raw one-man stage play where he performed all 18 characters, from Sonny to Lorenzo to himself. He rented a small theater and did the show with whatever little money he had. People started talking, standing ovations, sold-out crowds, celebrities in the audience. And one night, Robert De Niro showed up. De Niro was blown away. After the show, he went backstage and said, "You wrote this? You played all those characters? I want to make this a movie, but you play Sonny, and I'll play Lorenzo, and I want to direct." Chazz finally had his big break. But it wasn't given to him. He fought for it. Chazz even turned down $1 million offer. Chazz stated, "All they wanted to do is buy the script and cut me out." De Niro, he kept his word. Together, they co-created the film. De Niro insisted that the movie stay true to Chazz's story and not be watered down for Hollywood. The result? A 1993 film that felt personal, real, and timeless. Chazz got to star in his own life story, opposite his idol De Niro. The movie became a classic, but it wasn't just a career boost, it was his redemption. After A Bronx Tale, Chazz became a respected actor, appearing in movies like The Usual Suspects, Bullets Over Broadway, and Analyze This. But he never left his roots. He married Gianna Ronaldo, and they have 2 children. He raised his family with the same values Lorenzo raised him with. In his later years, Chazz opened an Italian restaurant in New York City, proudly serving dishes from his childhood. He also turned A Bronx Tale into a Broadway musical, again keeping full control to preserve the story's soul. Chazz says he gets letters every day from young people who say A Bronx Tale changed their lives, stopped them from joining gangs, inspired them to fix relationships with their fathers, or taught them what it means to be a man. Today, Chazz tours with his one-man show, speaks at schools and prisons, and uses his voice to teach what Sonny and Lorenzo both taught him. The choices you make will shape your life forever. Speaking of choices, when A Bronx Tale hit theaters in 1993, a young actor named Lilo Brancato Jr. exploded onto the scene. He played the teenage version of Chazz Palminteri, and for a kid who had never acted before, he was electric. Lilo was discovered in Jones Beach, in the Bronx. A casting scout heard him speaking and thought his Bronx Italian accent sounded just like Robert De Niro. He'd never taken an acting class, just a regular kid from Yonkers, and now he was starring in a major Hollywood film. Lilo was living the dream. He crushed the role, and for a while, Hollywood loved him. He went on to star in Renaissance Man, Crimson Tide, and even popped up on The Sopranos. But behind the scenes, Lilo was spiraling into drug addiction. In 2005, it all came crashing down. He was involved in a burglary gone wrong, during which an off-duty NYPD officer was killed. Lilo didn't pull the trigger, but he was charged and ended up serving 10 years in prison for attempted burglary. He got out in 2013. He found faith in God and has been trying to make a comeback ever since. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. And Lilo Brancato Jr. lived that line in real life. Chazz Palminteri didn't just write a movie, he told his truth, and in doing so, he told ours. A Bronx Tale isn't just Chazz's story. It's every kid who grew up at a crossroads, where one wrong turn could change everything. Thanks for watching. Who's your favorite character from A Bronx Tale, and what's your favorite quote from the movie? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell for more deep dives into the real stories behind your favorite films, courtesy of the Health Wealth Diary.